Good morning. What's going on, everyone? It's Wednesday. It's around 11 o'clock, sort of. And I'm here at 42 West 18th Street, Adorama itself. That is not a green screen. That is actually Adorama. And I brought this guy, Mark DiPaolo, Leica shooter, amazing fine art, editorial, fashion portrait, I'll call it. It's going to be a lot to explain. Trust me, he's not even going to be able to explain it. Watch. But before we get into that,
I love it.
I want to say a huge thanks to our sponsor, Leica. I mean, you're a Leica guy. That's a Leica. Leica is a brand that's on another level. It's that aspirational brand. I mean, they've created some of the most iconic cameras. Some of the most beautiful images have come out of Leica itself. Incredible lines. The SL series, I think, is amazing. The Q series, we actually did the Q3 video with you. You can check that out.
Fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
The Q3 video on this channel with Mark, if you want to see him shoot like BTS wise, we got that video. But you know Leica. Leica's so crazy. I have a bootleg knockoff Leica shirt from Canal Street. They actually bootlegged that logo to sell me for $5. That's how much Leica's out there, right? So that's Leica. And I also want to say a huge thank you to our coffee sponsor, Gotham. Cheers, mate.
Hey, man.
What'd you get?
Here we go. Vanilla latte.
Vanilla latte.
Yeah.
Hot. Mark's a hot vanilla latte.
Yeah.
I just go with black cold brew.
Yeah.
No soul, Sage. See, no soul. But let's get into Mark DiPaolo. So there's a saying in this industry: if you leave food out, you get ants. If you leave the door open, you get Mark DiPaolo.
Right.
And so this guy,
And I'm here. And I made it.
no, Mark's really does some really prolific. I'm going to say prolific because I can always spot it's one of your images, and it's one of these things that it's one of these things that I think you can explain it all you want, but you have to experience Mark's work so that you can get a vibe of what he's getting. Because I know I make a joke that like it's always out of focus with you, but I think when I got a chance to talk to Mark one-on-one, one of the first things he really explained out to me hard was how much more connection humans get to the out of focus than the in focus.
Yeah.
And then after hearing you talk about that, I looked at your work a different way. And I mean, you've got books in MoMA. You've got massive campaigns around the world. You're doing workshops, high-level workshops all over the world. You're really in it. I mean, you've been through it. He's got the New York hat and the scarf. You know he's real, right?
I don't work as hard as you do, but I do work hard.
You work hard. I'm a sucker who lugs 10 tons of gear, and you're like, I can do it with just a camera and lens. And I go,
well, that was part of the process, actually, at a certain point.
I'm going to show some of your work while we go for it. So let's talk about where you came up with your style. What is the ethos of the way Mark shoots? So.
Yeah, it's interesting because it started a really long time ago. And I'm now able to track my journey and how I've arrived at this. And I've always responded to images with energy. I grew up in New York City. My dad was a photographer. His friends were the greats, Richard Avedon, Irving Penn. Those are family friends, yeah. And I just was really sort of got into my old style very early on. And I've got a little something here I'd like to just read to get started. This is a quote from Judge Woolsey in 1933. My favorite novel of all time, Ulysses by James Joyce, Irish author, was banned at first. And this is the quote from Judge Woolsey, who overturned the ban on Ulysses. And this really was the beginning of me, like what we're talking about here. And it's Judge Woolsey describing what Joyce was doing. What he seeks to get is not unlike a result of a double, or if that is possible, a multiple exposure on a cinema film, which would give a clear foreground with background visible, but somewhat blurred and out of focus in varying degrees. I read this when I was a kid in a used bookstore in Saratoga Springs. My family used to go up there on the lake, Lake George, and hang out for a weekend or whatever. And it's always stuck with me that and also that we do not have layered cinema. And I think, like, why is it that audio has, 64 tracks or 32 tracks?
Interesting.
But in cinema, the audio in cinema has tracks, multi-tracks, but cinema is basically cut to cut to cut to cut, maybe a dissolve, maybe a little dream sequence, but we don't use the real estate. And so these two things have really resonated with me. I don't want to get too deep in the neuroscience and the cognitive psychology, but I study this stuff and lecture about this stuff, as you know, all over the world.
Yeah.
And we respond as humans emotionally in the out of focus areas of our vision. whether it be a photograph or just walking down the street. And you think, well, wait, I don't understand. We only have one point of focus. So you look at your finger, everything's gone.
Yeah.
And in early childhood development, we respond to our eyes are not developed when we're infants fully as an infant. So it's sort of like the world is out of focus and those closest to you. And so all these things sort of combine to something that looks like, oh, all my friends joke, including you, like, oh, everything's out of focus. It's like, okay, that's cool, but there's science and there's reason to it that I didn't know in the beginning, but I know now.
Yeah, there's an abstraction to it, but it's not too much of an abstraction. You can still grip into it. What I found with your work is that there's always the debate of whether the viewer is an observer or a participant with the images, right? And I feel like when they're just obscured like you do, and I keep using the word obscured because
no, it's a perfect word.
Viewers then are actively trying to put together the pieces and go, well, that looks like that could be what is happening. And then they're engaged. They're not just going, got it, pretty, cool, got it. Oh, wow, that eye is sharp. No, they're going, what would the color of that eye be? What's going on? Like, you just start making up your own narrative.
Well, think about it, right? So you have 1,000 people look at your work. In 1,000 people, if you tell them what to feel, if you direct them where to look and what to feel, you'll lose a lot of people. Only certain people will respond to that. What I present is things, whether it be stills or motion, I project an environment where they are allowed to inject their own sensitivities, their own lives, their own interests. So you have a much broader base group of people who like your work. And so it's good to learn the fundamentals, learn how to make things sharp, how to learn to use certain lenses and all this type of stuff. At a certain point, it's got to be you. If it's not you, you got nothing. If you don't have your thumbprint on it, your DNA, you got to get there. And the only way to get there is when you scare yourself, because that's when you're really sort of resonating with who you really are.
Well, I've seen you shoot, and in a world where we're like obsessed with eye autofocus and how fast something focuses,
all good.
You are literally moving back and forth. You're constantly looking for the point, which is what I'm going to call it, like that point where that image is there. You're not just going crazy. There's moments where you'll do the whole from the hip thing, and that's whatever. But when you have it up to your face and you're doing this all the time, I could tell that you're waiting for that point to be where it's obscured to the level that you want it at.
Exactly.
It's controlled. It's controlled chaos a little bit.
Yeah. And you might think like, oh, it's easy to get it out of focus. It's like, no, think about all the lenses. No, it's not. You think about all the lenses that are made and their, optical design and how variable they are.
Yeah.
Right. And then you start thinking about doing testing, because this is tested. This is not just me go, oh, yeah, this is cool. I know what it does to the degree of out of focus. I shoot everything wide open, as you know, and I really do.
With amazing glass, by the way.
With amazing glass, but it's selective for what I'm trying to communicate.
You also select your sensor. You select your camera on the sensor.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, sensor is the film. I mean, in the old days, plus X, Tri-X, whatever, HP5, FP4, whatever, they're all different. And so you choose film to render you the results that you want. Well, that's the sensor. For me, I made this motion picture, which you saw last night, for the first time. Very few people have seen the film. We're still, finding the right home for it in terms of distribution.
We'll show a teaser in a little bit about it.
Yeah, it's super cool. It employs this multi-layered technique that Judge Woolsey was talking about Ulysses on a cinema film, and there was no such thing like it, and I contend there isn't now. I mean, if there is, show me. I'd like to see it. But so it's very dynamic, as you know, in terms of just, where your eye goes and what you follow as an individual, Well, so the sensor is for me, because I do no editing, no post-production editing at all. Not one frame in that motion picture is edited or graded, as they say on the motion picture side. It's off the sensor.
Right.
And I'm not trying to sell stuff. I've tested all the cameras that are available. Yeah, from Alexa, to Leica, the SL2S is what I shot the film in, a couple of them. And it hangs with anything in my style, what I want to show and how I want to show it. So it's a very individual thing. So, so you get a little bit of a look. It's beautiful. Again, now, no grading. I didn't mess with this. Not one frame.
Yeah, well, you didn't shoot log. You shot.
Yeah, well, that's cheating. Yeah,
so
exactly.
You were like, whatever the camera is going to process for color, because I know this camera.
Right.
That's what I want.
Right. Yeah. So it's just a matter of testing, and creating a mood and see what it's capable with. Combined with lenses, and like I said, shoot wide open all the time because I want to control like where you're looking, and present it in such a way that it hopefully engages with the most people.
Well, I think that's like our job is to, if you shoot with intent and and I always tell people that everything in a frame is a word in a sentence and you've got to make it make sense and communicate, right? That's our job when we're trying to use a medium to communicate I want to control what I'm trying to tell you. You got to give them a little bit. I give them like, you go 85%, give them 15% of their own, and then they're engaged, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I am going to challenge you a little bit because when you talk about these layers, I think that's what we're talking about when we come up on these discussions of dynamic range. And a lot of people try to HDR their images and like, well, the sky doesn't really look like that. I'm going to pull it down to be blue, even though it's blown out to hell because it's our bright sunny day and I'm shooting at 1.2 or whatever. So I think that's kind of the layers visually is the pulling of whatever the exposure can be. Right. I think in this film, you went a little literal with it and you actually literally overlaid and did a lot of cross dissolve that hung for minutes.
Yeah. No.
I mean, it was like a 90s music video, like a Pearl Jam girl running and like crows flying. And like, I'm like, yeah, I was like, I get it.
That's a good idea. Where was that from?
That's gotta be a 90s music. That's gotta be
I'm playing with you. Yeah.
But I think that's what you were literally doing. I mean, I can't speak for you. I literally just saw it hours ago. It's a metronome that the beat to it. It's got this very long, drawn out moments, heavy weighted moments. You shot it like a photographer. You let it hang. Yeah. And then you're like, then it starts going. Yeah. Then it's winding down. So
it's very musical in that way.
Because
go ahead,
her narrative is the melody. Her narrative is the beat.
It's internal. Our brain doesn't work like, just like cut to cut to cut to cut. That's not the way we think. We're thinking about other things. I mean, I saw you set up here. I mean, you were in like 20 different spaces, making this thing work. That's
why
morning.
I am why I am. Do you
get this? No, I know. I got it.
This?
Why? What's my excuse then?
You're from New York. That's what it is.
Yeah, that's right.
And you guys, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. I know someone's asking, would you recommend the Q3? Do you know if Leica fixed a few glitches they had reported by YouTubers? First, I don't trust YouTubers off the bat, but
no. On what authority are people making? Yes, a new firmware just came out like what a few days ago. No, a few days ago. Yeah, there's M11 Q3. What do I think about it? I don't really want to go on record, so hopefully there's not a lot of people out there listening right now, but. That Q3, I mean, we tested it early on before it was released. It's phenomenal. And I'm an M shooter. So like, I'm going to get like AG, like calling me like, dude, wait a minute. What are you doing? Like, I'm, an M shooter since I'm 12 years old. And, I always have one on me every day, literally. That's just my go-to, daily.
Look, it's us.
Oh, there we are.
It's us with the Q3.
Good looking guys. Yeah.
And I was like, what can I sell on the block to afford a Q3? It's a really beautiful camera.
No, I'm thinking the same thing, man. I seriously, that Q343 with the Apo 43 millimeter. Oh my God.
So Daniel did the video on that one. You're welcome, Daniel.
You're not welcome, Daniel. What are you talking about?
One of the things that Leica does that's actually unique to Leica that I think is super smart is, and if you buy a high-res camera and you go, hey, I want it to be a smaller image, it will just downgrade the data. It's still using the sensor how it would use the sensor.
Right.
At 61 megapixels, you're prone to noise, let's say. But if I'm shooting late at night or whatever, I can actually tell it to go to 33 megapixel and it will bin the pixels so that it's simulating a larger pixel to then take the noise down. So you're literally getting whatever camera you would carry with you for the different reasons in the same body. And like you have that lens, you got the digital crop. You just go like, I have so many tools. You have so many tools.
It's crazy, yes.
Look at this guy. Look at this crazy guy with he's like, go buy this fountain.
Yeah. Yeah, just sit there.
Yeah. Don't worry if it's in focus.
It's loose.
I tell them it's a style. I just tell them it's my style.
Yeah, out of focus, but I'm sitting here, so.
No, no, but I do think that. Well, here you weren't doing your soft style. You were doing
listen. I have total control over what I do.
No. But you also were, and this is to his credit. I don't know if we have this clip in here.
Well, I wanted to shoot it like, sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to shoot it like an M. I want to see, does it, function in, sort of my UI.
You knew exactly what distance to keep the frame where you want it to be in focus while you're walking with her. You're not looking through it.
Right. That's what in car racing parlance is what you call seat time. The more time the amount of time you do something, you get good at it, and it works. And again, it's wide open. I shot it on manual, wide open, and it's phenomenal. So
I also think that the more the equipment you use, no matter what it is, I don't care if it's out of a dollar bin or an amazing Leica. When you become symbiotic with it, and it becomes less of something in your hand, and you're just working with it, you'll be surprised how much elevated your work gets.
Of course.
I
would say, look, Michael Jordan didn't think when he was running down the court, all right, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot. Oh, wait, I'll go a little bit over here. Now I'm going to jump. It's muscle memory. It's mental memory, where you just do something so much that it becomes second nature. Then only then can you become yourself. Learn the fundamentals, work hard at it for as long as it takes to find your own thumbprint, your own DNA. And that's what I teach, not photography, but how to find your own voice.
Well, that's what we're doing, right? We're communicating through a medium, right?
Right.
And I think it's important that, you're shooting Leica because you found something within that system that you feel.
As a kid, my dad was in the business. So it's not like I jumped on the bandwagon now, you know what I mean? I was in Wetzlar, where Leica's made in a year when they were not doing as well as they're doing right now. Things happen. So it's something that just is me, like literally, like there's that new campaign, M is me, or I'm M, or I'm not sure exactly what it is. But it's part of me. It's just the way I see.
I get it.
Yeah.
And it's great when you find that it clicks in. I got to shoot with literally everything. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. When I pick up a different brand, I have to kind of change my mindset, because I know that this colors act like this, or their highlights get a little hot, or I have to retool my brain just a little bit. It takes me like 3 shots. I'm like, right, they do this. Let's go this way.
Yeah.
And that's how you lean into whatever systems or gear enable you to do what you're trying to put out there. So you have to make a decision on what your perspective is, what your taste is, what your style is. And that's the hardest thing to do. And it could take you your whole life, I think.
Yeah, you have great access, obviously, so you get quickly to those decisions, and I do too, and I've tested many cameras from many different manufacturers and all this type of stuff, and so it's clear quickly. But it's something. It's not like everybody wants an immediate, success or a response. I'm a director, I'm a photographer. It's like, you got to work at it. It's not something that is just because there's great technology and automation, let's say, and capabilities. It's not something that becomes easy to access your soul. That's the key. It's not just, I take a picture. I saw one like this on Instagram. It looks good. I'm going to show my friends. Sorry, I'm a little, sort of cynical about that stuff. It's like, but how much of it is you? What are you saying that's different than the picture you saw on Instagram? Another little neurobiological thing, and this is a medical fact. No, it's the important stuff.
I love how deep you go and just throw these.
I listen, just bear with me. Here we go. So everything that we see goes, and this is just determined recently because of our medical ability now to track neural impulses. Everything that we see goes into our memory center first, not vision. Everything that you see goes memory first and then gets processed to vision. And if you think about that, so our visual capabilities is based on something that we've seen before. It's a part of memory. So then that becomes sort of familiar.
Right.
So I think you got to be really careful not to just be scrolling and all that stuff going into your memory and then relying on that subconsciously as being like, "Oh, that's cool. This I like that. I like this." What is it that all that being done because it's medical, right? Scientific, all that process. What is it that you're seeing that scares you? What is it that you want to communicate but are maybe afraid to, or I don't feel I can do this, or my friends won't let me?
To process, and you're not even doing that anymore. That's why I think print is so important. When you have a print hanging, you're living with it. It doesn't go away. You don't swipe it away. And so where I live, there's not a square inch of space on my wall. It's shocking, right? And it's all just stuff I want creeping into my brain. So when I go approach something, I'm taking pieces of it with me. So I'm kind of replicating, but I'm using it as a tool rather than
it became just triggering, though. It just, something that's inspirational. Wow, that makes me feel something. What is that? Yeah, which I don't do, but people ask it, I know. And Sage there puts it together and doesn't show me, and then I arrive on set and they're like, "Oh, we're really looking forward to this day," and blah blah blah. We really love what you want to do, and I'm like, "Yeah, right."
Boy, you said it. Let's go do something on left field here. But you're hired for a reason. They see the work that you put out. They're expecting that work to come back when they're hiring.
They know it. They're just afraid. I mean, no, it's hard. You want to keep your job, and it's a hard thing answering to other people. And I understand that. Especially I directed commercials forever, and it's very, 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 very expensive each day when you're making film. Television commercials, and so there's a lot of pressure. And it's like how you deal with pressure. And those around you. So you got to allow for it. But,
There's a question in the chat, which I guess they're wondering, like the Leica SL2, which is what you shot the...
SL2S, yeah.
SL2S. So they're like, did you add vivid color +1/+2 contrast, or is it just JPEG?
Nope.
I don't think they're talking about the film. I think if you're going to take a camera and you're not shooting RAW, if you're letting the camera...
I am. I'm shooting both.
Right.
Obviously, it has the capability to shoot DNG plus JPEG.
Yeah.
And I have I'll tell you my settings. The settings is natural color. There's no increase in contrast. There's no color. I mean, I do often read color, Kelvin temperature, color temperature. So because we adjust for color temperature, our eyes and our brains. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And so I want to know what it is really, and then that will inform the photograph and the mood that I'm looking for. But it's very white. It's then that's it, and obliterate it all. No, so what happens is that I have a sort of starting point. So I don't manipulate it. We go back to what you said: is I choose the sensor that I'm most simpatico with. I choose the sensor that is me, that I love, and I don't care what camera it is. If it's not what my sensibilities are, I'm not shooting it. I eat by taking photographs and making films. So I'm not some debutante like I can go do whatever I want. So that this has to mean something at the end of the day. So literally, I shoot DNG primarily to be able to profile for printing, whether we're making a book or prints that go in a gallery or a museum.
Let's talk about
that's so you got larger files that have that translation to. Now in the digital world, like I'll shoot, I shoot fashion, beauty, as you know. What I do is I shoot the JPEG and I put it on what I call still the analog way. I say, I put it on the neg. I put it on the sensor. From there, I do no post, like I said, and challenge me. I don't do any post at all. I put it right because I come from the analog world, and we can do that because we had to learn it that way.
Right.
We preconceive, not post-conceive, the analog folks, right? We have to think about what we're going to do, how to get it on the film or on the sensor, intent, and not rely on post-production, right? Or post-conceiving, right? So when I shoot, say I'm doing an ad campaign shot. At the end of the day, I give all the material. It's being fed during the day to Sage. Sage manages the media, and by dinner, it's at the client. Now, other people can't do that, and so it's a real plus when they are for me because like I said, when I'm at dinner, I'm done, and then tomorrow I go again. But if you have to spend, I don't want to spend time messing with things. You can put it on the sensor. There's a sweet spot for the sensor. It's not just, finger to the wind and, like, oh, I'll do this and I'll mess with it later. you can tell, as I know you know, when you hit the sweet spot on the sensor, it's different. It has its full dynamic range, whatever that capability is.
Full color depth, all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's funny because like they've handed me. I'm not going to name any names here, but they've handed me cameras over the years that are like the god of god cameras. Just trust me, and I grab it and like, yeah, I'm sure the sensor has amazing image quality and all stuff. But if there's something about the interface of the camera that interrupts my habits, I get a little like, this isn't what I can get out of it. One of the things that drives me crazy is minimum focusing distance.
Yeah.
The second you stop me from getting closer, it could be the most gorgeous lens and it just shuts my brain down because I'm not shooting the way I'd want. Yeah, I can crop. Great. No, I want to get closer because I want a different depth of field. I want to be in there. And that's one thing that over the years has really jarred me when I'm grabbing a new system and I have to like really adjust my habits. Which is rough, you know, when you're trying to be like just rolling with it, you know?
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, talk about the Q3. This Q343 with the Apo 43 millimeter lens and its close focusing ability is otherworldly.
Yeah.
On that note, because you can keep moving,
Nothing stops.
get to where you want to be emotionally, visually. You know, it's crazy what is being achieved this way, and that is remarkable for me. You know,
Leica optics, like give me a break, man. It's unbelievable
nuts.
what they do and handmade and all this stuff. And their level of standards of the elements of the glass is crazy. But let's go back to talk about printing, because how did the books come about, right? Were you shooting to build the book? Was the book kind of like, let me collect all this work? How did all that come together? And how did you get into MoMA? Did you just stumble in there and be like, look, I swear it's good, put it on your shelf?
That's
like,
another interview. That's Sage. So you can
Sage?
talk to her. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I do the work, but yeah, no, it's the motto of our business model is we show up. You can't be screwing around. You got to work every day and, night and day. And there's always people working really hard. You got to work, super hard. But basically, the first, I came across a series of, it just was sort of random. I always felt and still do that what I did every day is art and do every day is art. So people would say, oh, Mark, you should do a book, you should exhibit in a gallery. It's like, nah, I do that every day, whether it's a television commercial or a photograph or whatever. Yeah. So came across a series that was shot in the middle of the night, handheld for 60 seconds, wide open. And it's called the 60 Second series. And when I saw that was on the M240, which is this camera right here. And I looked on the back of it, it buffered for 60 seconds. And then I looked at it and was like, holy shit. Oh, sorry. Holy shoot. I said, this is art. And at that point, it became the 60 Second series. I don't know if you can show this.
I can't show this.
Yeah, I don't think you can show it.
I'm going to put a link in the chat, but it is not work safe.
Yeah. And it's not community safe. Like it's, there's nothing graphic or, about it or anything, but,
Disclaimers galore. I don't want to hear anything. If I get thrown into a conference room today over you, we're going to.
Okay.
No. I'm falling apart in front of you, Mark.
No worries. Yeah, so that was the first thing. So I did a little maquette. I did 60 of them and, sort of self-published. And that was the first thing. Yeah, it was for a book.
So
No.
You did the
It
work
just
first.
happened. It just happened. And oh boy, what do we do with this? And then it became a book. And that's been shown all around the world, literally. And, from, China, Japan, all over Europe, the United States. It was shown in Boston, San Francisco, LA, a very successful series.
That's great.
We have not done a book. We just did a little maquette, 60 of them. So that's actually on the, more front burner now. But another one, a series, I've done 2 of the 3, are a series called Recent Work. And what it is not relying on my expertise or experience, but shooting from my heart. Just getting a feeling and just, sort of seeing something, getting a feeling, just take that picture. Don't intellectualize it. Just take the picture, and then Sage will put it in a file and keeps it, and then organizes it later. But it's not, wow, that's Mount Fuji. Wow, that's a beautiful person, or that, oh, wow, look at that car. it's like it could be anything, just a shape, a window, a thing, that just sort of whatever it sort of just triggers me a little bit, not triggers in a bad way, but sort of it gives me an impulse, then I'll just take that. So that series is recent work. Like I said, 2 of the 3 are done, and we move on. But the big one is called 5 Years and 60 Seconds, and that was we were approached just before the pandemic by a publisher to do a book and an exhibition for Paris Photo, the big photo festival in Paris. And so we did that. So we got a call from the publisher, and Sage, took the call and like, oh, I want, do a book with Mark, 400 pages. Can you have that done in, whatever? I don't know what the time frame was, but it was like a couple months. And of course we were like, sure. So she put together 400 pages of, selection and curating, and that's the book, 5 Years and 60, it's sold out. 5 Years and 60 Seconds, which includes a section of the 60 Seconds, that first series that we can't show here. And so 400 pages, then the pandemic came, so we didn't go to Paris Photo that year, but that book it's just a selection of 5 years of work of mine, so. Yeah.
Come here, Sage.
Yeah.
Come here, Sage. We're talking about you so much. Come here.
No, I told her this before.
First of all, come here. First of all, this is Sage, everybody. If you see Mark, Sage is within in the realm somewhere.
Tethered, yeah.
So, first of all, what is it like to work with a guy like this that's constantly throwing things at you? And are you looking for things to organize what's happening here?
Oh,
come
God.
to Mike. You know Mike.
Yeah, no, I know Mike. I know Mike's.
She's a singer, so she
No,
knows
I think it's important. So I'm in production. I'm his producer. I think it's important to find people in life, no matter what you do, who think similarly and who are interested in the same kind of work, right? Sometimes there are just synergies or understandings that are unspoken that we can't really explain, that are spiritual or artistic.
You see how they go together? You hear this?
Yeah.
I learned all I know.
No, but it's like, it's like us working together. We've been working together, with Adorama for several years. We've 3 of us have known each other for years, So I think, like anything in life, it's important to find those people. And I don't, my job is not necessarily, I don't find that I need to be the person taking the picture. Mm-hmm. What I'm interested in is finding sort of the core of the idea and then shaping it into something that can be, commercially successful.
So is he like your raw material?
Right. It's sort of, and sort of shaping around that. Okay, what is this going to look like as an end product? But even from the inception of an idea, I'm as you know, in production, finding locations, talent, all that stuff. So, but I don't feel that I'm any more or less of a participant in the creation of the images.
Right.
When I see the book or an exhibit or Mark's images, I feel as if they are also mine.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, I think what is the point of the image if it never went anywhere? And if you're going to put it together and collect it, then present it the right way, it's perceived differently.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. And I wish more artists, more photographers were willing to share that creative and collaborative process with other people, and were willing to find people who were able to resonate on that level and to be so generous with it. I think, as you know, lots of photographers are very precious with their information, very egotistical, which, I understand there's a certain amount of ego that's involved, that has to be involved.
I'm vehemently against that. I built this place to be against that. So
yeah.
No, I get it. I think you should come here and do a talk. I think you should do a whole
by myself.
Well, she has an article out right now in what magazine?
Viewfinder magazine.
Oh, yeah?
Leica, it's like 9 pages or something.
9 pages of Sage?
Because everyone wants to know, what's a producer? What do you do? No, it's amazing.
Yeah. It's unspoken. That whole thing.
Another conversation.
Fernando, book this. All right.
No,
whatever that is.
You're a smart man, because people know more about what I do as a photographer, not me personally, but know about photography than what she does.
They come across the work, they ingest the work, but they have no idea everything behind that image. They really don't. And some people have come here and like snob it up and be like, oh, it's just a picture of this. You have no idea what it took to get to that point, so that exists in this world for you to even react to it.
Right. Yeah, I was actually just on the phone. I don't know if Todd's watching right now, but I was on the phone with Todd Heido.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yesterday. Todd Heido and his producer and business partner Marina, and he was saying that we were talking about the same thing. He's like, it's so interesting. Like when I'm working with somebody or trying to explain my process, he's like, okay, so I put up the tripod and I put the, camera on the tripod and I just take the picture. He's like, but it's actually like all the soul and the life, obviously, that I've lived before that is funneled right into that.
Oh, we just push a button for a living. I don't think you get it.
That's what I say all the time. That's what I say, Seth.
You all say it.
You won't sell her on that, but
no,
I try all
whatever.
the time. But
okay.
Yeah.
Oh. And I get told every day. All I do is push a button for a living. That's all I get told every day.
Yeah.
Those comments.
You say yes, I do. That is correct.
I'm like, you just clicked play right now, so thank you. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, exactly. And you're here listening to me speak. So.
But you get people here, though, whether it's a photograph or relationships that you develop. Well, and, being honest.
Don't you think there's a weird discussion now that since the cameras are so smart, they're literally detecting the subject, literally detecting when to
focus,
it around everything,
yeah.
Right? That there's this crazy discussion of, well, where does that end and we come in to finish up what's happening with that piece of gear. And I think a lot of people just assume, what camera did you use? Oh, your camera takes good pictures and all that kind of stuff. And I think with work like Mark's, it's undeniable that, no, the camera didn't get to take that over. Otherwise, it would have been on that eyeball, sharp as hell. Like, that's
what I say about the autofocus, notion, which is, amazing capabilities at this point, obviously. But, it's sort of, when people say autofocus, I say, yeah, but how does the camera know what to focus on? Does it have a brain of its own? Maybe someday it will, but like, I may want to take a photo of you, but focus on your ear.
Yeah, but here's the difference. You know what you want to do. Majority of people that sit in these seats hope the camera gets them something.
Well, no, that's to get them to a point. Yeah, then you got to search your soul is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they have to be willing to do that work, though. But I'm telling you, the majority of people that pick up a camera in the market are going, I hope this gives me I hope it knows what to shoot. Oh, I didn't really even realize I wanted that to be the subject.
It doesn't, by the way. Yeah, it doesn't know.
Yeah, that's the problem. Becomes so numb to it that people aren't even there. And then oftentimes when we're talking to people, they're like, "Oh, I didn't even know I had those possibilities to be able to take the image in that way."
They don't even think that way. You have to really train their brain.
Right.
That's my mission, is to, challenge people to what are you about? Yeah. It's not, I don't want to know how good you are at photography. How good are you at knowing what you have to say? And are you brave enough to pursue that? And that's what I like to teach. When people just get that, when the light bulb goes on, it's like an epiphany. It's like, oh my God, I can do that? Yeah.
Yes.
That's what in my opinion, you need to do. I don't teach how to do what I do because you can't do it. You're not me. And I already do it. I'm better at that and will be.
We always talk about the intent, but I think we forget. Sage, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get her in here. Don't worry about it. I think people forget about the responsibility we also have, right? To our subject, to what we're trying to convey, to our viewer. If you're going to ask for someone's attention, if you're going to get someone to pay attention to you, you've got to earn that attention.
Yeah.
And they've got to connect. And if you want that again, that image they cut you on, the next one better follow up and that's when you build an audience, not a viewer, not someone that saw your picture, but someone that engaged with a photograph. And I think we've lost a lot of that because of technology. Personally, there's just personal opinion. You can hate me in the chat all you want. I don't care. But it's when all they care about is, did it see the eye? Did it know I wanted that? That's all they care about. They just want to see it perform more than what they're shooting.
That with the basketball, metaphor, the idea is that's just dribbling. You still have to get down the court. You still have to be able to evade a defender. You still have to be able to take enough shots so that you can reasonably, repeat that effort and make it go in the basket.
I think
work, fundamentals, and realize that that's what it is, and then be able to, go forward from there.
Yeah, but don't you think I think people have to realize that they're not taking pictures. So,
well, that's the scary part. They don't want to realize that.
Yeah, well, so they go to trade shows, they go to workshops, and you see their work, and it's like pretty girl, weird dress, crazy room. Somehow that's worth looking at. And I see it over and over again. I can't even tell you who shot it. And I go, yeah, but don't you want to have a stamp? Don't you want people to realize that? They don't even realize they have to get to that place themselves before they worry about technicals. Yeah. They really just go, what softbox did you use for that one image 4 years ago? Shut up.
Yeah.
What do you want to shoot and what are you trying to get at?
Exactly. That's why we're sitting here now, because to be able to, impart that type of sensibility. Yeah. Because It's part of the process, but get to where, it's a very powerful medium, the media.
It's a language.
And it's a language. And you got to know how to translate what you're feeling onto that medium. That's like translating a Russian novel. Like you got to know Russian, and it takes a while to learn if you don't know it. And
you need a perspective.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I think people forget that like, is this the rule of thirds? Is this the angle? Like, oh my God, just feel it out.
My niece is at Columbia right now, up the road here, studying visual arts photography, and one of the first assignments was rule of thirds. And I told her, she said, Uncle Mark, I'm doing the rule of thirds and this and that. I said, will you tell the teacher that what he's going to get is what you want to put in the frame and where? And that there is no rule. There's a dynamic of fundamentals in terms of studying art and this and that, but there's no rules in taking pictures. There's no rules at all. Right? Except for to get, through a class or something, if you think. But so the idea is to forge your own path so that you can communicate, you can translate and embrace and be able to work with the power that the medium offers. Like tell all the stories you can tell. Like what are some of the great images of all time. They're telling an important story. You have such power at your fingertips. It's not power to copy Instagram. Its power is to have your own voice, your own position.
Yeah, but we all strive to emulate it first, and then they go, okay, I think we're somewhere. Then they got to make that choice and really put in work. There's actually a comment in the chat from Anthony saying, so do you think fashion photography is a lesser art form? No, but different art forms or disciplines in this medium have different types of engagement. So product photography is an incredible art form that is so meticulous, and it's incredible. But I'm not connecting with it on a human level half the time, getting something out of it like a portrait would get me to connect with a human. But I'll be like, wow, that the amount of splashing and frozen action, like it's incredible art form, different type of engagement.
Yep. Different purpose and different engagement. Purpose. And it's a matter of like what you feel strongly about. Is fashion an art form? No. And yes, it can be. For me, it is because I would say, and I work for very high level fashion clients that I don't speak about, certainly not in public forums and this and that, because I don't get my work from Instagram. My work comes from, places far and wide, clients. But for me, I always say, and they all know, and they get annoyed. I say like, I don't care about fashion at all. Yeah, but I care about the people. Yeah, no, of course you can tell. Well, what I care about is the people who are the subjects. Yeah. I care about the people. I'm curious. I'm fascinated by people who are my subjects, not the object that I'm trying to make them into, but the subject that they are. So you provide an environment that is safe, and so that they have the ability to communicate themselves. Yes. That's where my interest in, and that's where, in the chat, that's where my, sort of position on fashion. It could be amazing if it says something. You look at like the great Peter Lindbergh. He was about photographing men and women, but primarily women, but in a very natural sense. It's not the blown out, put the flesh in zone 7 and like, it's like, middle gray. It's, women without, it's his statement about his exaltation of women. That's what he felt. That's art. Right? That he does something and the people flock to him to be photographed by, he's passed away, but flock to him to be photographed because it was real. It was honest. And I think that's your success. You're honest. You don't care, as I know you, about telling the truth. And I think that's what people want to hear and see is the truth.
They're telling me right now in the chat, Blanco86, I love discussion on creativity, but sometimes I feel Seth is condescending, borderline pretentious, especially towards budding photographers that are finding their path. I'm just honest with you. I'm not going to stroke egos. I am not going to bash anyone. In fact, we're doing the last photo critique of the year tonight, which we do every month. And people keep coming back for a reason, because they're actually getting told things that they need to hear instead of their mom hitting like, their friends telling them it's a pretty picture, and they're wondering why they're not going anywhere with it. I don't go out of my way to bash anyone, and I don't go out of my way to hurt anyone's feelings, but I'm not going to sugarcoat. And that's just my style. So if my style isn't for you, I'm not the person you should be trying to get your information from. Probably that's fine. There's endless people that teach.
But Seth, this is like a coach. You want to reach a high level. Let's just use the basketball metaphor again. You want to play ball and you want to play well, right? The coach, a good coach is someone say like, dude, you can do better.
Yeah.
Work harder.
Yeah.
Well, that might offend you because you may think that you are at a place where maybe you're not, or maybe that this coach is just encouraging you more because he thinks that you've got potential. It's a journey,
You got competition, kid. Like it's time to get.
Oh,
yeah.
You think?
Yeah. Well, you definitely. I mean, your world is definitely very.
Yes. The air is really thin where I live, and it's cool and I love it. But again, I'm about the subject. I'm not like, oh, the stitching and the thing and this, but the clients love my work because it resonates with something that is truth, which is like what you're saying. You're just speaking the truth. Encouraging. It's not in a negative way. It's like, look what you do. You're messing with this stuff every single day in multi facets.
Well, when they come to you, first of all, you've had such a prolific legacy of work. They understand that this isn't the guy to go get me my details on this dress. This is the guy to give me the life that you would have, the tone, the mood, the vibe of what you would live in this dress.
Right. It does in a real situation, a fold where not everything is in focus. Maybe it's just the leading edge of a curve of a skirt or a jacket. Like I see them. What I mean? When I see them, I record them. But it's not, if you try to tell me, I had a big client that I met one day shooting a fashion thing that came to me and said, oh, we'd love to have you work with us. We really love your work. And we just would want to have maybe a few more in focus. And, no, this is real. And this is a huge client.
Yeah.
Well, they have 8,000 stores worldwide. Huge. And I said, oh, we're not a good fit. I appreciate your interest in my work, but it's not, well, what do you mean? They said, well, we have 8,000 stores. No, I know who you are. But you can't tell me how to do the work that you're responding to.
That's bold.
Let me do it. No, I turned him down. Like 5 years later, Sage gets a correspondence in whatever form it was, and they said, well, we want to work with Mark, and he can do whatever he wants. We're not going to say anything. And that became a client, which led to another client. These are international clients, big brands, But I had to, and it's not like I'm independently wealthy. I got to work. But you also have to do the work that reflects my style so that it becomes a desirable thing to hire me because they know what they're going to get, and they,
But that's important. I mean, if you guys want to get hired for a certain way of working, you have to put out that work. You know what I mean? Like I put out a lot of special effects, zombie creature stuff. Guess what they call me for?
Thing.
Yeah, I mean, I do get every now and then. I get an email from someone's like, can you shoot? Can you go clean? Can you do this? I'm like, yeah. And I will morph and I will do it. And part of the difference I think between me and you is like, I kind of like that challenge of like, what are you trying to go for? Can I achieve that solution? Because I can get the technical. There's always the technical, and I can have a skill box forever of all the technical, when to apply it. I'll bend for that. But what you just said, where you turn down the client, I try to tell a lot of people here, there's always the next shoot. Oh, geez. Yeah. There's always the next shoot. Like, don't be afraid that you lost this one. Don't say, oh, I got rejected, it's over. There's a million things happening all at once that you're not even aware about, especially in this city.
Yeah.
You know how many times like you've gotten a job from the weirdest thing? I was nice to a caterer once. Next thing I was shooting for Makeup Forever. Yeah. What happened there?
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah. I took a picture of a dog at a coffee shop in Santa Monica in LA, and that person owned a big company, and they loved the dog, showed it to their wife, and oh, my dog, and this and that. So that got me a job. Yeah, with doing some important portraits of very important people, and it was like, that's a cute dog.
If you want to kick rocks, you got to go where they're kicking rocks. So if you want to be out there,
find some rocks.
Yeah, you got to go out there. You got to do it. No one's waiting to call you on your phone. You've got to be out there and constantly be producing. The worst thing I've seen is such talented people resting on something they did 15 years ago. And I'm like, wow. Like,
yeah. Well, the flame burns out. Still got to keep moving all the time.
Yeah.
My daughter would say to me, Daddy, you don't know anything. I was like, well, let me explain something to you. I mean, she's a brilliant, bright, person and challenging, and but she, you don't know anything. I said, yeah, but you consume what I sell. So when you go, whatever the brand is, I won't mention a brand name, but say, a brand like you wear, those jeans. Well, I did the photo. I was ahead of you was saying that I don't know anything. No, it's like they come to me to know what you want in advance of what you know you want, You're daddy, I was like, okay, we're cool, like.
It's inception, man. I mean, what people don't realize is that if you're trying to join on a trend, you're already too late.
No, we're creative. It used to be before the internet. It was 2 years ahead. Like I'd go, shooting in Milan or Paris. We were 2 years ahead. So what was happening on the streets in Milan came to New York 2 years later. So it's always in advance of, and you got to stay ahead because that's what they want. It's what's up,
what's next,
and
you got,
or they're dead in the water.
Yeah,
because if they'll be behind, so.
And do you ever pitch the what's next? Do you ever go like this is the way I think you should go with your campaigns? Let me know if you want to go forward.
No, totally. It's a natural thing. They come to me or I go to them, we go to them, and something resonates. And I don't want to say that let's just say it's the biggest brand in fashion that everyone knows. Let's just say is one of my clients. And our first meeting with them was like, oh my God, I can't believe that you can shoot motion as well as you can shoot still. We don't know anybody who can do that. And that's, may offend some people, but having the ability, because stills and motion are very different. It seems like they're similar. Everybody wants both now because of the streaming stuff and, the handheld stuff. So everybody wants people to be able to do both, but at the very high level, it's not often there. Like people who are great photographers and not necessarily great directors. It's a different mindset.
They don't even try, some of them.
Well, they didn't. I mean, they're older, guys like me or gals. It could be, just sort of stuck in their ways. But right. I'm just fortunate. I've done both. I still do both, and so I walk seamlessly between the two. And
you got to assimilate.
That's movement.
Yeah.
I've just always done it. Now the world has evolved,
right.
Incorporating
and
both or meeting. But
yeah.
But that comes from, sticking your neck out.
Yeah. I get a lot of, and since I have like a million videos out there, I get heated comments, and a lot of the guys that come at me angry, I'm going like, I've been shooting since the 70s and the work's all dried up. Like, so when did you learn video and audio? You didn't? Oh, well, wondering why that wedding isn't getting booked by you and that other person can offer both. Like, no, it's not high fashion, but I'm just saying like,
no, I understand.
You have to wake up to where we're at. Yeah. And if you're going to provide a service, look at what your competition is doing. Do you offer it?
Yeah.
And if not, what's special about you to get you booked? Do you have a style that's so prolific that people will bite into and really engage with? Or do you need to offer more?
Yeah.
Do you need to find a deeper level, another level?
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't even think that way. They're just like, how come not? Whoa, it starts with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You make your own opportunities. Don't start this whole like the world.
It's not easy. It's not easy because they're formidable pursuits, both of them.
So Anthony, I think you're kind of got this weird chip on your shoulder a bit. So he's asking, what are your thoughts on retouching? Does it make a photographer less skilled because they can't get it shot out of camera? And your previous question was like, is fashion photography lesser art? You got to stop thinking about what's downgraded. Whatever you produce in the end is what you want to give to the world. If people want to buy that from you or engage with you from it, that's another story. But there's no lesser or higher. It's just what you're putting out there.
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I'm all, like I say, all I'm professing, communicating is what I do. I don't want you to do what I do because you can't, because you're not me. So if you work heavily in post, that's great. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying that I don't want to sit in front of a computer. I got to go to the next job the next day. I got to live my life, have a nice meal every once in a while and not be editing until 2:00 in the morning and then wake up at 7.
Then you start hating it.
I don't want to do it. So I have trained myself and I come from that era. but it's important. No, I think there's phenomenal stuff being done by people who are brand new. I think there's phenomenal stuff that are being done, heavily in post-production, and the advancements, the daily advancements of that technology. I'm all about technology, but I just pick and choose. I shot an entire motion picture, a feature film, on a Leica SL2S because I chose to, because it was handheld. It was not intimidating. It was an internal story where there's motion. It's just sort of constantly, life is moving. We're not just sitting there, especially in a very highly emotional state, which is what the movie is about. So no, nothing negative about it. I'm just saying what I do as an example for you to do you. So I don't know you, but do you. And if I did know you, I would say the same thing. Find what you want to do, and then there are no questions. You're doing you, and you know that you're the only one who can do that.
No, yeah, Anthony, don't apologize. The topic of conversation is whatever we want it to be, right? And that's the same thing with whatever you produce. Look, American Apparel made a ton of money doing just on-camera flash against the wall for how many years? And then right next to them is a store that does highly retouched, crazy pristine images, and they're both doing fine, right? It's not about one's right or wrong, one's lesser or higher. You just have to define what you think your images are and how you want to proceed to create those images and hopefully gain an audience from it. That's the big thing, is you want to gain an audience so that you are valuable if you want to do this for a living.
You started the top of the hour, saying about how you recognize my work.
Yeah.
As distinct from other people's work. It's sort of in a commercial sense when you want to work at it, not like art. Art is another thing, but it still needs to be your own DNA, your own thumbprint. But it's important to have an identity and to find it. And I encourage it, as I say, it all goes, just don't do anything that's illegal or immoral, but you
safe,
do
sane,
you.
legal, safe, sane, legal.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I look at work I did 25 years ago. I was a teenager.
Are they like 25 now?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I look at it, I'm like, it's like another person shot this. I'm just looking at it like, wow, where was my head on that?
Your journey.
Yeah, it's just wild.
You needed that to get here.
But it's so fortunate. We literally have time. We're consecrating time capsules. I look at my walls of all the stuff I've shot, and I'm like, what other profession gets the chance to see their life the whole way? Or every person you shot, I still have some sort of relationship with today. We're so fortunate that I think that's what made me strive to learn another technique, another skill. Now, how would I apply it? Another story. There's plenty of techniques I learned over the years that I'm like, never again, not for me. But some people make a whole living out of it.
Yeah. Interestingly, I was sitting, and I'm not trying to sound like an idiot, but it may sound like it, but we were in Paris a few weeks ago at Perry Photo, which we go to each year. And I got a call, or Sage got a correspondence, and this person said, Mark, where are you? Can you call me? I want to talk to you. And it's like 11 o'clock at night in Paris, but the call was coming from New York. And so Sage said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to call the person back, like right now. And this is one of the most famous actresses, period, alive. And she's like, you're going to call right now? I was like, yeah. I mean, I shot her decades ago. And she was calling to just say hello and, talking about this one photograph that she has interest in. So you talk about this time that has been, has evolved, and this person calls sort of out of the blue. We're very good friends, were and are, but I haven't been, spoken to her in a long time. So you talk about like that legacy. She goes, so how come no one can shoot like you? I'm shot by everybody, every photographer there is. And how come, I said, well, we were close and it was safe, and you could be you. And I, had the ability to do it. And so now we're doing a whole host of amazing projects from, I don't even want to say when it was from, but it was crazy. How would you talk about the journey and what we have, and what's the legacy and the archive, and so
when people get discouraged, I'm always like, you have no idea what might come back around. You really don't know what's happening outside of your head. There's definitely times where I'm like, let me just sell my gear because nothing's been going on for a while, and next thing you know, you get a call from somebody, and I one of those calls end up being a 15-year-long contract in the makeup industry. So, and that was a day after I threw stuff on Craigslist. I thought I was done.
See, there you
so
go.
it's just, you have no clue. I think I ended up here in the weird, no, I don't want to get into this, but, but no, I think you have to lean into it if you really want it. You know what I mean? But the hardest thing you're going to have is trying to find out who you are as an identity, because you're going to be using all of these tools to put out what you're trying to communicate, and who's communicating it? You.
All roads lead to you. Keep doing it, but know where the destination is, because only then can you separate from everyone else. And then you have to work. The technology is there, but the hard work has not changed. You got to be serious. I mean, we're sitting in New York City. It's this is the history of photography. Here it's right in the neighborhood. My studio was at 20 West 20th Street. Back decades ago, right across the street from Dugal Lab. I would shoot, send the chromes across the street, hour 45, they were back on a light box in the studio. It was almost like,
Dugal.
Digital. Yeah.
I used to go there, drop off my Fuji Velvia, and I used to get it processed, and along the walls with these light boxes went the whole wall, and you'd be fighting for space against these other guys just to look at your stuff. And I just remember I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I got a shot that it was really hard. Ended up being a 2-page spread in like the magazine I was a fan of, and I was just like, and I just remember like yelling in the middle of Dugal, I miss having that much energy.
Yeah,
but that was a time.
I think you still have it. I can't imagine what you were then. This is suppressed Seth energy.
There is a story of me throwing a kit lens at a cop that I will share one day, but it's not. But it's just, oh my God, I'm falling apart. Sorry, I've been sick like all week, so I'm like losing my voice now. But we're at the hour, and I think that's a good place to leave it with that whole all roads come back to you. Listen, guys, if you have not heard of this guy, of course I dropped the thing I need to close out the thing.
That's
Hold
right.
on.
Don't worry about it. Just find you
here,
and that's the most important thing.
Boom, boom. Check out Mark's work over there. Engage with all the posts. Check out the film when it comes out. Where's it going to be released? The Stab in Heaven.
Yeah, it's a multifaceted film because it has some importance in several different genres. So we're finding the right home. It's coming out 25. So we don't know yet because we have not signed the deal yet.
We don't know yet.
No, because it's really unique. There's the art side of it. There's the cinema side of it. There's there's technique that's employed that you saw last night that has not been done before in terms of the layering thing I spoke to you about at the top of the hour. So we're finding the right. We're taking meetings to find the right. It's been doing very well so far, and so it's just a matter of where we want it to be. I can't even, I'll be like, if I said what people said about it, it'd sound ridiculous, but it's hard for me to even hear. It's been so glowing,
all that work, and you get all that. That's when the tidal wave comes back like that. What's better, right?
Yeah. No, it's, again, my interest is in people. So for me, it's about how do I render in a photograph or a motion picture, people, the soul of people, because it rings true and that engages people. Yeah. And that's what I want. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll get you back in here. Years ago, you did a talk. Maybe we'll do it again. Talk about some stuff. Maybe we'll get that going.
And you should get this one. Get Sage
I'll drag Sage up here. She'll be like, I don't want to do it, but I'm free on these dates. She'll do one of those.
No, it's such a wealth of information. And aside that, it's more is known about being a photographer than being a producer.
No, it's important.
It's really important.
It's been really cool to see how you guys work together. The projects you guys have done over the years. It's been really amazing to watch where you've gone, and I think it's really cool.
Appreciate it.
Make sure you hit follow on that. Don't forget to like on this because that helps out. But there's also 40 other episodes of this. If you're new to this, go check them out. We've had an incredible roster of people. I gotta say, it's been really great doing the show. This is the last one of 2024. Yeah. So, all right, boom. Man.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, follow him. I want to give a quick thanks to Leica for sponsoring this. Leica. That's all I got to say, right? And we will see you soon tonight, 5 p.m. If you're in New York, the photo critique with me and Daniel. We're going to be looking at your work, and no, we don't make anyone cry.
That's cool.
Do it and it's no stream, so they got to be here in person. It's real chill. You're welcome to come back if you want to come hang out.
No, it sounds great.
And listen, guys, stay up on Adorama Events, the other YouTube channel for all the other streams, and adorama.com/events for all the actual events that are going on. 2025 is already gearing up to be insane. We'll be at all the trade shows. I'll see you at Imaging, WPI, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, guys. Be good to each other. Mark, thanks so much for coming out.
My
man.
pleasure.
I
Thanks
appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Be good to each other, guys. Later.